meal or do some of the activities, please see Miss Lynn. So let her know before you leave today. Also, Super Summer, those of you who have teenagers and you want to get rid of them for a week, you have to take them back, but you can get rid of them for a week. We do have those forms located on the table there in the back. So I encourage you to grab one of those forms, and I strongly encourage you to get it filled out and get it back as soon as possible. The week that we are going, week 5, it is already maxed out. All right, so we have our number that we are able to take. Last year, we took 74, okay? We've got 65 spots, so if you want to go, if you're wanting to take a friend, you better get one of those forms, and you better get it in to me quick and in a hurry, because it's not guaranteed that we will be able to take over that. So just keep that in mind, okay? Just a little encouragement. Get those forms, get them filled out, get them back to me, okay? Thank you very much, Pastor.
Any other announcements before we do our fun presentations? Always fun here. Look, and then he got a few fun gifts for Pastor Bryan. For those of you that don't know, this is Pastor Bryan's 10th anniversary here with us. We've got some. I know in the office, we've been planning this since the end of December, trying to get everything lined up. We try to do some things a little bit bigger this year because 10 is pretty special. When the average stay of a Southern Baptist minister is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 years, Bryan has really blown that out of the water. And many of y'all have been impacted by him and his ministry, even if you're not in the youth group. I can't say enough about him, about what he does. His title now is youth and collegiate. For the longest time, it was youth and children. But he's also the backup janitor, the who's it, what's it, fix it man. Basically, his job is to make my harebrained ideas look good, really. If it's decorated in the sanctuary, he has done it. Guys, y'all don't know what he does behind the scenes. And as hard as we tried to keep this secret, Bryan did find out this morning when he said, "I don't feel good, I'm going to go home." And I said, "You can't." Sorry. He kind of went, "Well, why not?" He had that look like, "What do you mean I can't?" I'm like, "We're celebrating you today." It'd be kind of embarrassing if you're not here. We do have 2 folks that I've invited to come and just say a few words. I don't believe they'll be long. I think I told him 5 minutes, right? Is that what we said? Where's Terry hiding himself? I know Terry's here. Terry, I think you are the senior member here, so we'll let you come and share. Terry's coming from the KNCSB. I know technically you're retired now, right? No, you're still official.
No, I'm still official.
Well, keep plugging on, brother.
I will.
Then we'll have Mark Gillick come and share something. Then we've got a few things to present to you as well.
Yeah, and I do know what he does behind the scenes, and I can tell you what he does behind the scenes, but I won't tell you what he does behind the scenes because he knows what I'm doing behind the scenes with him. So I'm looking out for myself as well. Congratulations on 10 years. Yeah, awesome. Congratulations, you put up with him for 6. There's something to be said there. Appreciate that. Have you ever noticed how Bryan always has a joke or a story or something to tell? I love at Super Summer, after all the students go to their dormitories and go to sleep, we often stay up to make sure they are asleep. And while we're waiting for them to go to sleep, it's fun to be with Bryan. The stories wax long and eloquent, and they are good. And the dude has more jokes than any guy I've ever heard in my life. I mean, he just gets started, and we just sit there, and he just rolls one after another after another. But I do have one thing against you. Every time I call you on your cell phone, you purposely don't answer the phone, so I have to listen to that silly song from Tennessee or something like that. I just think, it's right there all the time. Bryan, it's a privilege for me to drive up from Topeka to be able to say congratulations. You may be from Tennessee, but folks, he is a Nebraskan at heart because he loves people here. And I watch how people love him, because that's a real indication of how he loves others, because you see them reciprocating and bringing it back. And you mean a lot to me. And not all of you know it, but for a while there, I was coming up every month and meeting with a group of youth pastors here in this area. And Bryan was one of those. And we were just spending time together, learning more and more about what God has to say, and to just hear his heart and his love for the people of Bellevue and this surrounding area, and you students especially, how much he cares about you. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And thank you for teaching me, Bryan, along the way. I may be an old dude, but I'm still learning, and I thank God for younger guys like you that are leading me and helping me to even know better how to touch lives and everything. And I'm glad you and I are both Scottish. That you know, they dropped the A out of McIlvaine when I'm still mad at them for doing that along the tree. But I'm so glad we're Scottish. But more than that, I'm glad that we are brothers in Christ and will spend an eternity together because of what Jesus has done to transform you and me to be able to be used by him. So congratulations on 10 years. God bless you, my brother.
Just a quick note, it's interesting, he had to get relatives to come up and say something nice about him. My mom's maiden name is Watson, but apparently we're not third or fourth cousins. It must be 50th or 60th, because I was told we were Scotch-Irish. So apparently you're purer blood and got rid of the Irish stuff. But I remember a little over 10 years ago, I probably got Al, it was probably a phone call from you. The church was interim on youth pastor, and Bryan's name had come to the church, and I guess in spite of what I shared, you still called him. No, I'm serious. I would have said something very positive and uplifting, so we're glad that you're here and have had a faithful ministry. A concern I have, though, is you're a little hard on pastors, and I notice, Carl, your hair's turning gray really quickly. So pray for the pastors; they'll be able to survive a little longer. But seriously, when I think of Bryan, I think of there's some passages that come to mind in general, but one that I know applies to Bryan. Of course, got to be biblical a little bit. Here is Ephesians 4:11-12, very familiar passage when we talk about ministry. It says, and he himself, that's God through Christ, gave some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. And obviously, that's a role that you fill as a youth and children's now youth and the collegiate pastor. And it goes on, it says, for the purpose of equipping the saints so that together we might do the work of the ministry and together we might edify the body of Christ. And it's great to see somebody who exemplifies that passage. And Bryan has been kind of my go-to guy on several occasions. I remember a few years ago, we were kind of in between on mowing at the office, and I asked him, he stepped in and volunteered their kind of youth, and we invested in the youth fund to help kids get to Super Summer, and then it turned around that I think you did most of the mowing. But I think Set Free came in, and I think you kind of went like this a little bit. But we appreciate that. Here last summer, stepped in to help us with our vision tour for the HIS thing, and we needed some help doing some setup and cleanup, and for a few pizzas and a few bucks in the youth fund, he brought a crew, and I appreciate that. So kind of my go-to guy. One of those where you really made the sacrifice. So Bryan was here, it's probably been a year and a half ago. You were willing to check out our neighborhood security system. Appreciate you doing that. For those who are not aware, he kind of after hours came up and picked up a bounce house out of our block party trailer, and then went down the hill to gas up, and some of Omaha's finest surrounded him with guns, thinking, was it 8 of them? 8 of Omaha's finest surrounded him. I think you said that one of them pulled a gun. And so I appreciate, not everybody, not all youth pastors are willing to check out a neighborhood security system. Bryan, you're willing to do that. But on the serious side, not just my go-to guy, but I think more importantly, Bryan, you've been willing to be God's go-to guy. I know that in college you served as a summer missionary in Winnipeg. We've heard those stories and how God used you up there. And then, I don't know, was it 14, 15 years ago, called to serve as a youth pastor, pretty much heavy on the volunteer side a church right across the river in Iowa and served there faithfully. And he's been here for 10 years. So came to the good life, to the great state of Nebraska. I know we've just been talking about world changers. I know how faithful you've been. Is it 20-some world changers and preparing to go to Sioux City again this year. And the other thing that I see with Bryan in sense of youth pastor and collegiate and children's minister, a lot of guys in those roles kind of just keep it close and they minister to the church folk. And Bryan's been willing to go to the highways and the hedges. And we appreciate that. And you've seen that and you felt that. And you just heard him talk about the number that were at Super Summer last year. I know he's an instrumental part of the team for our children's camp. Couldn't operate without him. So just my honor to come and to acknowledge the faithful service of a cousin, distant as he might be. Thank you, Bryan. May God continue to bless you.
All right. Y'all know how much he is just loving this, right? Yeah. Bryan, come on up here. Let me present you with some stuff here. We've got a couple of things for you. Again, 10-year anniversary is pretty special. So, of course, we got the card. That's what we always give you, right? But that's not enough. And like I said, I know that you're really, really big into your Scottish heritage, or is it Irish? So I got you this shirt. That's for you. But on a serious note, we're Steve Malcolm. Would you come up here for a second? For those of you that don't know, Pastor Bryan really is Scottish. And he is very, very proud of that. The fact that he just slung that over his shoulder shows his respect he has for me, because I wonder how quickly he's going to give it away or burn it. I wanted to do something for Pastor Bryan that he wouldn't do for himself, because I guarantee you the money in that gift card is going to go to feed these mouths and possibly several others. So anytime we give him those, we know he's going to spend on others. So we want to do something that he would not be able to do for himself, or would not do for himself, but would mean something significant. So I'm going to give you this. I'll take this back. You'll get it back. But I'd like you to dig in there and see what we have here for you in all seriousness. Now this is just so you know, Pastor Bryan, that was made by a dear woman named Miss Margaret in Scotland. It does have a passport. It is official. It was handmade in Scotland with Watson Tartan. He does have his own clan, so this is something special. You'll pull that out, and you too can look just like Stephen Malcolm. All right. But I have to tell the story for this. I shared this on Wednesday night group. Pastor Bryan, no one was ever planning on getting you a suit. I had to measure Pastor Bryan for this. There are 3 measurements, and I didn't want him to know, all right? I didn't want him to know. There are 3 measurements that we need when we're measuring for a kilt. As you can see, it's worn higher than a pair of trousers. So we need to get his belly, his girth, yes. We need to get his waist and his butt. And then we need to get the hardest measurement, which was supposed to be about 2 inches above his belly button, down to the middle of his knees. Now, in order to tell him what I was doing, I had to fib just a little bit. This is what I told him. I said, a very influential member in the church, I am, needs to get your measurement for some clothing. He's like, what? I said, yeah, they did the same thing for me, for Pastor Appreciation for me. So I need to get measurements. So I took every measurement. I measured his neck. I measured his arm. I had to measure his inseam. But the hardest measurement to get was for the belly button to the middle of the knee. Because what it says to do is hold it at his belly button and have him kneel down. I didn't want him to know that. That just seemed awkward. Y'all are laughing. You should have been there, right? So I measured and I eyeballed. And I sent the measurements to Miss Margaret over in Scotland. And she said, she called me. She said, if he's 6'2", he said, it's a mini skirt is what you're going to order him. And I said, no, ma'am, I'm pretty sure that's right. She said, I think you need to measure it again. So I'm in the office. I'm like, okay, no problem. I go back and I said, Bryan, I need to measure you again. He's like, what? I said, well, they think I got a measurement wrong. He's like, why don't I just go to the store and do it? I said, oh, no. I can do this. So I measured him a second time. Again, eyeballing it. I sent it off. Margaret calls me again. She says, Pastor Carl, I hate to bother you, but it just seems a wee bit small. Please measure him again. Make sure you're going 2 inches above his belly button. I said, oh, I didn't know that. Let me go check it again. But to make sure I did. Then I said, Bryan, you're going to have to get on your knees. And sure enough, he did. He got down, which was kind of awkward. It's like, oh, worship me. So I finally sent the measurements off, and she said, that's a little bit better. We want it right. So they do want a picture of you in that. And as I've shared with everybody what we've gotten for you, they all expect you to wear it formal occasions. Easter would be a wonderful time. I would say this, thank you for 10 years, for 6 wonderful years. I do appreciate it. The podium is yours if you want anything to say.
I will say this on his fib. Al, I apologize. I started assuming things and he just allowed me to run with it because he said an influential member wants to get you a suit. And I'm like, why does Al want me to have a suit? And we just kept going on. And he says he's wanting us both to have suits. And I'm like, for his funeral or what? What is he plotting? What is he planning? So I apologize. Yes, I apologize for killing you premature. So, okay, first of all, guys, those of you who don't know me, let me say this. I would a whole lot rather probably be beat than to go through this. But I do appreciate it. I really do. I left my family and down in Tennessee a long time ago, but I found one up here. And thank you for being my family. Okay. So, and again, as Pastor was saying, the average stay, you're saying 2 years. Think about it. First Baptist Bellevue. You're 5 times better than your average church. Think about that, okay? You're 5 times better. That's why I've stuck with you guys. So, I do love you. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of this, and I ask 2 things. Keep praying for me, and don't hug me.
I'm going to remind everybody afterwards, we do have a potluck next door. We could not get haggis, so we went for fried chicken instead. So I know many of y'all brought that. As always, when we get over there, we'll say the blessing on the food over there. When we get started, please allow the senior adults to go first and Pastor Bryan, because he's got to get fried chicken, or at least set some aside for him, okay? Y'all come on up here real quick. Debated doing them first, but I think Bryan will get mad at me because I think his priorities are this, and this is what's important. Rick and Liz have come to us